Hello, this is Nathan, better known as CrazyhermitDM, and this is my podcast, The Hermit's Homebrew. Joining me today is Brent from Langeministudio as we review Tales of the Valiant. And then speaking of the books, the Monsters Vault is a very, very beefy 400 plus pages.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and
there's hundreds, and I mean hundreds of monster entries.
one of the things I do like, I like just flipping through here. One sec. There it is. If you have a PDF or the physical copy of the Monster Vault, on page 270, they have the orc.
Mm-hmm.
I love how they did the orc. It looks barbaric. It looks messed up. It looks vicious. It looks like it would be a challenge. It reminds me a little bit of the trolls off of Warcraft. Mm-hmm. If you played the Horde and you had a troll, they kind of look like that, where they have the big, massive tusks coming out from underneath, from the jaw, which, yes, orcs have always had, but these are huge to where if this guy closed his mouth, they would almost poke him in the eye. He's got a shield that's got 5 hands nailed to it. He's got a double-bladed axe. He's got furs on. He looks slightly emaciated, barbarian. It looks just awesome.
And I feel that's one of the places that, with 1D&D coming out here, I think actually a
month. Yep, come out a month. Yep.
They'll top that is they're not basically humanizing the other races.
Yeah,
they're making, or their species, habit.
Yeah, exactly. It's habit, yeah.
I prefer actually to say species is just habit.
We got to break that habit, yep. Mm-hmm.
It's not even breaking the habit, because it's not a bad thing in my opinion. It's just I like species actually more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they have their own individual identities. We talked about this on one of our previous episodes of what we felt like the orcs to the OGL episode. You watch television programs and all that, and I look at the orc in this book. It's I want to play this fierce by human standards. Not the best looking of guys, but I'm sure by orc standards it probably
a very
probably is a Brad Pitt.
Yeah, and you look at him, and to use a negative connotation word, he looks savage. Mm-hmm. He is just gonna go ham on somebody with an axe. I mean, he's got 5 hands nailed to his dang shield. I mean, he's gonna go nuts on somebody, and that's cool. Orcs are supposed to be that way. They are not supposed to be a civilized race. They're supposed to be a foil of humanity.
Not all species run off facial.
No, absolutely not.
Beauty. Even insects, they attract each other by big bright colors. Birds as well.
Oh yeah.
Might not be facial thing. It's how overall prominent you are.
Yeah. Most males in the bird kingdom are big and bright and colorful and look at me, and the females are brown. No, and as I say that, I look over your shoulder and you've got a raven up there. Okay, they're both black, but I mean, whatever.
So, when you're looking over this, both books,
mm-hmm.
How did you feel like the overall book layout was? Commenting on the layout or the organization or the clarity of the book, did you feel like I mentioned, I didn't understand how certain systems worked with one another, but I definitely felt like I understood everything that was before me. I didn't feel like nothing was like 3.5. I was reading an encyclopedia and I just felt like my eyes glaze over from information overload.
I am a child of 3.5. I loved 3.5. I owned probably 80% of every Splat book they came out with. I will be the first to admit that at the end, I did not like that I needed 8 books to play a character.
Yeah. I do like the 5th edition general rule, and a lot, I guess, DMs follow this. I don't really, but Player's Handbook +1.
+1, yep.
Make your character.
There towards the end, my DM, Clint, instituted that rule. He says, you have the Player's Handbook and 1 Splat book. I'm not going to have you flip through 8 books to find that one spell that you didn't know. I'm like, oh, okay. And we ran with it because we all agreed. So
you have to streamline it a bit.
Yeah, so you're not dragging the game down of taking, 10 minutes of a character's turn to find that one spell or that one ability or whatever. But so far with the books, I like it. I'm also a type of guy that I love me a good index. I love me a good table of contents, to where if I need to find something, I will go to the table of contents or I'll go to the index.
So,
and that will tell me where it's at. So
before you get going,
yeah, before I get off that rant.
I've known Brent since 2016. I've known about this problem and pet peeve of his to the point to where I've actually brought it in game when he searched through libraries because I knew it would drive him as a player nuts.
Oh my God, yes.
Brent has a problem that when you go into an RPG, any book,
any book,
where you search for a particular thing and it says see page this or see this in the index, and then it takes you to the next thing, and then it leads you to another thing. Then there's a problem with the index, which I wholeheartedly agree, but it is not a very strong pet peeve. But for Brent, it is.
You want to trigger me?
So, how is the index in this book?
To be fair, I have not perused it.
Okay.
I have not gotten that far because at that point in time, or within the current situations of my life, with work stress and real life stress.
You're moving into a new house, and getting a new a basement studio.
Yeah, so
Let's
I mean,
be honest
huge,
and out here.
huge upgrades to my life, massive upgrades, but also super busy. So when I first got these, I cracked them open. The index was not very high on my priority list to look at, but to let people know if they don't know me or haven't listened to the podcast or my rant on this. I do not want to go into an index and look up something and have it say, see something else. And then I turn to that in the index, and then it gives me a page number. You literally use less ink when you say turn to page 185 instead of see basic combat encounters.
Well, you'll be happy to know I'm looking at least the T's in the index. Let's temporary hit points. Page 217.
Oh, it doesn't say see health or hit points?
It does say 217 or see life and death and hit points, or 3/4 combat cover. Page 232, but also see combat and attacking.
Oh, so they do both.
They do both.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
Okay. I'm kind of cycling up through my PDF because this is the copy that I have. That's actually what it all is. They give the page number, but they also say see also this in the index.
However, what you will notice that in the Monster Vault that I have in front of me, if you go to the back of the book, there is no index. There isn't one.
I don't think there is one in the Monster Manual.
And I was curious about that, so I went to the front of the book and I looked at the table of contents. They literally have every monster listed out with a page number. So I guess in that situation, you don't really need one. No. So okay, cool, awesome.
It's the old-fashioned movies where the credits are at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. and I'm okay with that. Like I said, it's not that big of a pet peeve for anybody, but for me, it's just that one. It's something that gets under my skin.
But it sounds like Tales of the Valiant Index
has checked that box.
Your seal of approval.
It gets the Brent seal of approval. Exactly.
As far as replayability, I don't think you or me can either say, because we haven't played it, to know how much replayability it has. If it is just like 5e, like I'm thinking, but it's a little bit tweaked, I think it's going to have a high replayability because we've been playing 5e for 3 years.
Yeah. Are people saying that there's a problem with replayability?
I've come up with a list.
Okay, okay.
We were just talking about accessibility and usability.
Yep.
Now I'm talking about player experience and GM experience, and one of the big things that you have to think when you're picking up a new tabletop RPG. Mm-hmm. And I definitely, it's one of my big things is, am I going to be able to run this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or would my group want to play this? Or if you're like me or Brent, who've been around for more than a decade, can I steal from this?
Oh, yes.
Am I willing to pay $30 for 3 things I can steal out of this? Yes. If not, I'm definitely just gonna have this for on my shelf of just as a basically like almost a piece of art, just because there's a lot of books out there that are nice. I have Dungeon Crawl Classics RPG.
Oh yeah. Oh god, I got a couple of those. Yeah.
Like the art in it's real nice. I do like to flip through it.
I like the old school like black and white art of it. It looks really cool.
Yes. But going back to replayability, I'd have to give that an NA just because it's not applicable right now. Eventually, from what I've seen from one online one shot, I feel like I'm just watching 5e with a couple of tweaks.
Yeah.
They've definitely taken a couple of things I feel that Wizards should have implemented and included it, as I mentioned in the tinkering. I had one note off to the side, but unfortunately it was a post-it note that fell.
Oh no.
Oh well. How do you feel about like community and support though, for like what you've seen so far with like the publisher support or like community involvement? The big thing that I've seen with this, why you possibly are thinking maybe of an answer, is I feel this has, I don't know if it's a lack of advertising maybe, or a lack of hype. Maybe it's just because the OGL happened basically a year and a half ago, and this was a birth effect of that. Obviously, you know, the OGL's calmed down quite a bit. Either people have forgotten about it, or they've literally moved on from D&D 5e to a different system, or they've, because it's now 2024 and information fatigue, they've just forgotten. And because Wizards rolled, as any good corporation, when their money gets threatened, they roll back.
They roll over hard.
And then they try to put, oh, this was a fake leak. This was
no, we're not gonna do anything.
I'm sorry, when your Golden Child Critical Role
turns on you,
and comes out with their 2 own TTRPGs within a year,
you know you've messed up big.
You ain't gonna tell me that was a fake leak.
Oh no. There have been too many people that have come out and said, this is what I saw, and they wanted me to sign in a non-disclosure agreement. I'm sorry, that's not a leak.
No.
This was a soft rollout that you wanted to get content creators under your thumb before it got widely known.
And I think this is where Kobold Press will shine, is I think they got their own gaming license.
I believe so, yeah.
This, to where they've said, go right ahead with our system.
Yeah. You mentioned something about advertising, and I think you're right. Me personally, I think I've only seen an advertisement or an ad spot on YouTube or whatever for Tales of the Valiant maybe twice.
Yeah.
And I do think that's a failure on Kobold Press's part, but also maybe they weren't looking at trying to go toe-to-toe with 5th edition. Yep. Maybe they just wanted to create an environment to protect themselves so that they can still keep doing their bread and butter, which is making D&D 5th edition adjacent material that can fit in both settings without getting sued, which I can also support.
Now, this happened before I actually even got started playing with tabletop. Maybe I'm like misinterpreting it. But it definitely, like, from what I've understand and I've seen online and I've done my research, 4th edition came out, Paizo came out with Pathfinder for 3.5.
Yes.
In retaliation because they didn't like the way it went. This feels like maybe not the new Pathfinder, but a new result.
Luckily, I have Pathfinder 2, yeah.
It's a result of basically another misstep by Wizards.
Yeah.
That birthed another TTRPG. So it's not like Pathfinder by any means, but it just seems like a repeated mistake by Wizards that birthed another thing.
Yeah. And I am not a fan of 4th edition by any stretch of the imagination, but looking back on it, I honestly believe that Wizards did 4th edition with good faith. I think that they thought they were making a right choice by trying to attract more players, make it easy accessible. We can go through all of the, fanboy things for 4th edition. But I also do have to agree that it failed miserably because I played a couple of campaigns of 4th edition and it did not feel like D&D to me.
No, it was its own thing.
Yeah, it was its own thing. I think if they would have labeled it something else, it would have been better. It would have also been received better. Not calling it Dungeons and Dragons, but calling it something, I don't know, whatever. It would have been received better. So, I don't know.
I guess that's just my comparative analysis of it.
Yeah.
Just like, it feels, I can't remember, 4th edition came out in like 2003 or 4. It was a couple years before I started in 2005. It had already been out. And then there's also Pathfinder. Pathfinder just seems so much beefier.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
at the time, 4th edition had an online character builder, which just streamlined the process so much. Pathfinder, I don't think had one.
I don't think so.
And I could build a character within 30 minutes and just start playing with my friends who we weren't playing the rules right at first by any means, but we're having fun.
Is anyone really playing the rules right?
Or really, I did start out as I mentioned at the very beginning of this podcast, I started out as the DM.
Yeah, that's
and I've been the DM 95% of the time. I enjoy DMing. I enjoy being the storyteller. I'm a writer.
Yeah.
But I feel like talking about the Pathfinder thing, getting back to that, that's probably like my comparative feeling of this is going to be the result. I feel Kobold Press and Tales of the Valiant just going to grow.
I hope so.
Unless they like really screw it up somehow.
Yeah.
Which has been known to happen.
Yeah, it happens.
And you've seen other small tabletop gaming things fail. But judging off their history with their supplements and how well they write, I mean, they do. They've like a lot of the people that have been discarded by more other tabletop game companies, Kobold Press has picked up.
Oh, yeah.
They have the best, some of the best, like besides Paizo, I feel, some of the best designers and some of the best writers. Because they're, the other one that has like a really good writer is the Roll for Combat people. I cannot remember.
Oh.
He is a really good writer, and he puts out encyclopedias of adventures because he likes to go through, these are the 5 different possibilities of this.
Yeah.
Kobold Press is about halfway to that. They're not quite as like, what's the word? Would be the word. I guess they're not quite as analytical with their adventures. But that's also where I feel Kobold Press will succeed over like Wizards, is a lot of the complaints about the newer adventures, like there's already complaints about the Tales of the Infinite Staircase or the Eye of Vecna.
The Vecna, yeah.
They feel very mid. Like with Kobold Press, with their monsters are really well thought out. I mentioned that before we started recording. It's like I was looking through your Monster Vault book, and then I was looking through the PDF as well, and I was expecting basically just Kobold Press's D&D monsters.
Copy and paste, yeah.
Yeah, copy, paste, tweak.
Yep.
No. They've taken their monsters. They've reflavored them, like we were talking about the orcs just a little bit ago.
Yep.
Or we're talking about there's a hefty section in that book about dragons.
Oh yeah.
Or for their namesake, kobolds are very, very team oriented.
Very, yeah.
Trapsters, miners, and all that.
Yeah,
as in a low level adventure, I would not want them to run into their version.
Yeah, what was it?
Kobolds.
Chris Tucker's kobolds. Those are deadly. And so yeah, it's when played right, kobolds are nasty. And so yeah, I like that they continue that idea into Tales of the Valiant. You were talking about the hefty section on dragons, just for fun and because it's on your flag and our shirts. I did a breakdown of the Black Dragon between Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition and Tales of the Valiant Monster Manual. The Monster Manual D&D 5th edition, if you want to look it up yourself, is on page 87 of D&D Monster Manual. And the Tales of the Valiant Black Dragon is on page 113.
Like, initially, like what we were talking about over chat before we even recorded, and a couple days prior to this, is obviously they changed the look.
Yes.
Yeah, there's the change in the look in the horns. and this one's a little bit more slender, snake like you
Yeah.
were talking about. Or they don't look like them, but it reminds me a little bit of a Drakensteed. Those big old long worm dragons.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, yep. Mm-hmm. Had to pull the file up. Yeah, dragons in 5th edition, they all kind of look. Now that I'm looking at it, they look similar. They all have like the same basic body shape. They have 2 wings, 4 legs, but they are just absolutely jacked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are muscular. They are buff.
Well, I used to have that gargantuan one before I moved and all that, and I kind of went to someone else. And like you saw the arms on that thing.
Oh yeah,
it was a 3rd edition version of it, but like that dragon lifted.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That dragon, he hoisted absolutely. But yeah, looking at them side by side, there's not a whole lot of difference. Just to throw some numbers out there, if you guys glaze over in your eyes on this one, I apologize. But the dungeon dragon, HP 367, Tales of Valiant 355. So there's a little bit less hit points. But the D&D Black Dragon, armor class 22, Valiant 21. Okay, a little bit down.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge rating, D&D 21, Valiant 20. Okay, so it's a little bit less on the challenge rating too. A lot of the stuff is the same. They are amphibious. They have legendary resistances. They have multi-attacks, frightful presence, acid breath that recharges on a 5 or 6 of a
Does
d6.
the black one have a little bit more like abilities, doesn't it though? Or Tales of the Valiant?
Yeah, Tales of the Valiant. Where it's interesting is Tales of the Valiant has an ability called acidic vapor.
Oh yes, that's the one I pointed out.
Yeah, it's one of the I sent it to you, and you were like, "Oh, that's so yeah." To where it states, direct quote from the book here: after the black dragon uses its acid breath, acid clings to its mouth, throat, and nostrils for a time, evaporating as the dragon breathes. While the dragon's acid breath is unavailable, acidic vapors surround it, and each creature that starts its turn within 30 feet of the dragon must succeed on a DC 21 Constitution save or be poisoned until the start of its next turn. And that's the dragon's next turn, not the player's next turn. So if you're a melee combatant and you're up close to that dragon and it uses its acid breath, you're going to be getting poisoned.
Is that a con save, though?
Yeah, it's a Constitution save.
So, I mean, an up-close fighter has a better chance.
Hopefully, yeah. But it's also a DC 21.
Ooh.
So, and that is while its acid breath is not available. Mm-hmm. Which means that if it rolls a 5 or a 6, the acidic vapors goes away, but it's still its acid breath coming up now. It's like, okay, so there's that. But the one legendary action that the Valiant Black Dragon has is called Elemental Roar. This costs 2 legendary actions, and like 5th edition, it has 3 legendary actions per turn. Elemental Roar. The dragon roars at up to 2 creatures of its choice within 120 feet of it. Each target must succeed on a DC 18 Charisma save or be vulnerable to acid damage until the end of its next turn. A target resistant to acid damage is not resistant for its duration. A target immune to acid is still immune to it even if the target fails the save. So, that's a legendary action. So right before the dragon's turn, the DM can go, oh, legendary action, 2 points, Elemental Roar. It hits 2 people in the back row, 2 casters, 120 feet. And okay, what the heck? Right behind it, then on its regular turn, it does acid breath. It has now given someone vulnerability to acid and then hits them with acid. In like right back to back. And it can still move. Or it can do Elemental Roar. It can now move up to its speed, which it's got a 80-foot fly speed. Yeah. It can now get well within range of its acid breath, and bam, one good roll, your caster could go down. Granted, these are ancient black dragons. These are the worst of the worst. The 5th edition dragon doesn't have that. So these things do feel a little bit more deadly, in my opinion.
And that's been the case, like I was mentioning, with like the Tomb of Beasts, the 1, 2, and 3. Like,
yeah,
I've borrowed stuff from that a lot. Not so much this campaign actually, but I've borrowed from it a lot, and they are nasty.
Oh
Some of
yeah.
the stuff they have, and
Mm-hmm.
like I do feel Kobold Press's monsters outshine Wizards
Yeah.
any day of the week.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you side by side. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. They're Kobold Press, if nothing else, is extremely creative.
I guess that's the difference. Is I feel like Kobold Press is putting out a better quality product. They just don't have the budget.
And yes, I agree. Which is probably why they don't, like, they go back to the whole advertising. They probably don't advertise too much because they don't want to get 5 million sales of a book because they don't know if they could fulfill that.
But this is.
But
I mean, it's a good problem to have.
yeah, exactly. That's a good problem to have.
I mean, they're a successful business.
Yes.
They were playing Tales of Valiant over at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, nice. Cool. Cool.
There's a couple of people I saw on Instagram playing it. It has not gotten a bad reception at all. I just don't feel it's gotten the reception
As much as
it deserves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, they should be. Yeah, this should be on everyone's lips talking about Tales of the Valiant. I do believe this has the chops to go up against D&D 5th edition or 1 D&D 5.5, whatever we call this next version, 2024, whatever.
Like, we'll kind of get to those kind of final thoughts here and thinking, like, I feel that anyone that's listening to this, if you're like wondering what our opinion is of this game, I feel that if you want to play 5th edition, but you don't want to basically play for the company that's putting out, which is Wizards and all the stuff that they've pulled, being a greedy conglomerate. Sorry, this is your game.
Yeah.
Kobold Press they're good people. They have a good reputation. I have not heard anyone else out of our community talk bad about them.
Mm-mm. Even in the Kickstarter, they were very upfront. They were putting updates out. They were not shy about answering questions.
No,
they were, in my opinion, they were very upfront and very transparent with what was going on.
I listened to, we mentioned earlier in the podcast, I listened to Roll for Combat, and he's been a game developer and he's played for almost 3 decades.
Oh wow.
And they also have a couple other people on there that regularly meet, and they just have their kind of talks and all that about everything that's kind of going on in the community. I've heard them talk about Kobold Press multiple times, and it's never negative. I've heard them talk about negative about other people, including Wizards.
Oh yeah.
But when you listen to these type of people and secondhand accounts, and they're giving their honest opinions, even like the people or like the reviews online, and you hear the person saying that it's like, hey, I'm not, I don't have the biggest favor with Wizards right now because I basically tell what I actually think, and I just give them a sponsored review like a lot of these other influencers are. I'm going to tell you the honest opinion about this, and those type of people I will listen to because I feel they're actually giving me a non-sponsored opinion, and when they're giving me a good overall thing and their gripes with it are basically kind of the same as mine and then I've brought up, I feel overall promising. I need to play the system though to really get a hold on it. I feel if they came out with some more subclasses, definitely at the end of this campaign I'd be more than willing to be a player or DM or whatever with it.
Yeah.
And run it or play it. Either way. I just feel it needs more time to, like a good wine, let it air out a little bit. And
it's got the good bones. It's got the structure that it needs. It's got everything. Now they just need to get some meat on it.
Exactly. And if you can run off Kobold Press's supplements, which are, I haven't seen a bad one by them.
Mm-mm. No, they all of them have been extremely useful.
And, CA Wood Publishing are like my 2 favorite publishers on Instagram. I'll send you their Instagram link. They're like my 2 favorite third-party publishers. I've gotten a couple of they have amazing monsters in there too.
Okay.
But what in your opinion would be like if you had to give it a report card from what you've seen so far and what Obviously, we haven't played it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, huge
But
caveat.
and that's the caveat with us giving our kind of final verdict here. What would be your overall rating, 1 to 10?
Right now, as it sits, without having played it, massive, caveat there, we have not played it. Right now, I'm sitting between probably a 7 or an 8. Maybe leaning closer to an 8.
Mm-hmm.
It's not perfect, but it seemed to
carry on the imperfections of 5e, which I wish they would have spent a little time on, and they still could.
Yeah.
My final verdict would probably be a 7 or 7.5.
Okay.
I feel, and I agree with a couple of reviewers online, and it's a little bit unfair just because of the past supplements or based off 5e. I think if they would have brought this out and the multiverse alternative timeline where Wizards never brought out 5e and they just brought this system out themselves, it'd be a 9.5, almost 10.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in alternate universe, with 5th edition doesn't exist, this would be, absolutely. I agree.
But Kobold Press, you're doing an amazing job. I really actually want to play your system, especially in a one-shot. I am coming to a con here in October, and we are having a vendor table as well as a couple other things. I'm planning on running a couple, or at least one game and possibly a panel if I'm able, depending upon time-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But I really hope to see your system just blossom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I am extremely excited about what the future holds for Tales of the Valiant, especially if they start getting out some more classes, subclasses, stuff like that. I'm really excited to see what they come up with.
Hey, tabletop gamers. Thank you for watching this episode of the Hermit's Homebrew. We come out with new episodes every Wednesday. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends as we continue to level up and grow.